Let's talk about my experience with the variety of epic heroes that we had on our Godforge experience, because we've got our good friend Gilgamesh on screen, we've got Achilles, Hound, Brunhild, Buster, we've got all of them basically on show today, and I'm going to give you my experience on what ones I actually fell in love with, which ones really did feel like they made an impact when I was playing on this Godforge Alpha Wave 1 experience, which allowed me to actually complete it all the way to stage 150 and dealing some nice little bit of boss damage as well to Fafnir, right? So smash like, comment, and subscribe. And if you've not checked out my last video all about rare heroes, which I do the exact same thing as we're going to do today, check it out because it's going to be the same format. So if you like this video, you probably like that video as well. So straight away, let's go over the #1 epic hero that I fell in love with, which is going to be Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh I unlocked probably around stage, I think 60 to 80, around that stage, and eventually just swapped him out for my Icarus, because when you look at Gilgamesh, he kind of fulfilled the same role as my Icarus did, which was the DPS. He is the big hitter in Alpha Wave 1, and this epic hero, and I do know Simon, if he's watching this video, shout out to Hell Hades, loves Gilgamesh too, and he was using him as his carry, as we was kind of discussing about him in some private talks about how good this hero actually is, and yeah, he was insane. Like, the amount of damage you're able to do with this hero is just not even close, guys. It's crazy, right? And he's just kind of like what I would consider the jack of all trades nuker, because all of his skills, as you saw, weren't anything complex. It's just dealing either a single target hit with a strong hit chance, or it's doing 2 sets of AoE, and one of them will give him his barrier, which is his ultimate, and the other one does more damage the lower he gets. And honestly, you don't even really get that low on Gilgamesh, and you're able to spam out a ton of these ultimates, because anytime an ally or an enemy activates their ultimate ability, guess what? You're getting a 5% chance to get 10%. So basically, this scales insanely quick, especially with the right combinations where you can keep almost doing a ultimate a turn, almost, or 2 ultimates a turn in some scenarios, which probably will get patched in Alpha Wave 2, but it did make him an absolute monster. The thing is, though, there is another damage dealer I was able to play with, which does do more damage than Gilgamesh, but it's in a very specific scenario. He's not the jack of all trades like Gilga that can kill bosses and kill waves and do this in a breeze. It does it really easily. However, Beowulf was absurd. Like, I need to shout out another content creator here, Ragewood, because he was saying you need to try out a Beowulf. Just see how much damage he does compared to Gilga. And the thing is, he is right. Beowulf does do a shit ton of damage, and that's me being polite about it. And the reason why he does so much damage, and it's specifically in boss stages, which is why he's so good, is because his A1 stacks up to 6 times a 5% attack steroid. That is only 1 steroid of 2 that we're about to show you, right? So just think, this hero is already doing single target damage, which is perfect for bosses. He's already hitting them for a truck ton, 370%, and now he's increasing that to 30. So that is now 400% there. Yes, okay, I'm sorry. I am really sorry to the boss that I hit you that hard, right? But then it gets even better, because his A2 attacks the one enemy, and if the target's a brawler or a boss, then decrease the target's attack by 5%. So you're now reducing the boss's damage while you're doing damage, which is a really good, again, boss 1v1 ability. Then to finish it all off, we have his ultimate, which again attacks one enemy, but it's a 500% attack plus 5% of the enemy's maximum HP. And if the target is a boss or brawler, you can see the common theme here is increasing the hero's critical damage by 10%, and it stacks up to 3 times. So you're gaining a 30% critical damage on this hero. So as you can imagine, when you try to build a Beowulf, you want that crit percent, you want that crit damage, and you're basically going to be going off your main attack stat for all the damage just to keep going even crazier. But you can see there why. Beowulf does do obscene amount of damage to bosses. But in a wave scenario, if there's no brawlers in there, aka someone like Anubis, who is a brawler in the game from this little kind of emblem that they've got for their current roles, right? If they're a brawler, then you get that value. But if you're not going against any of those guys, which aren't in some of the waves sometimes, you're kind of losing out. And this is where, again, where Gilgamesh does do more damage than him. So both heroes, if you've not guessed it, are fantastic. Both heroes will get you to 150. And both heroes are better than each other in certain areas. And you know what? I like that. That's good. That's what we want in Godforge. So again, if you land on any of these two heroes, don't feel bad. You're going to be absolutely fantastic. Now, let's talk about some actual epic heroes that I actually think are going to be slept under the radar, and I think are some of the better epics in the game as well so far. This is going to be Mordred, Pandora, and Green Knight. These 3 heroes, I think, are truly underappreciated. Mordred, oh my god, this Mordred is just crazy. She is one of the best, or he should have said, is one of the best knights in the game that is just doing good debuff effects. So you're attacking one enemy and you place a corruption debuff on them, which steals any buffs received. So if you're going against certain enemies like an Isis, for example, or an Isolde, if you attack first and you put this usurper onto an ally and they get the mend, it doesn't. You get the mend. You steal it, right? Which is kind of crazy. Also, if they're already under the corrupt, guess what? You get to steal a buff from them anyway. So corrupt is so good, right? It's so good as a ability already on your A1. But what makes him even better is his A2. He gives you accuracy up to, which allows all of your crowd control effects, such as his own Confuse, to have a better chance at landing. And Confuse is a very powerful mechanic which makes the enemies attack each other. So if you've got Confuse on, you basically skip turn and you attack someone else. It is less damage, as you can see, but it's very much of a nuisance, especially if you can keep getting this Confuse rolling onto the enemy constantly. They're not really going to be able to do much. And this is one of, honestly, the best crowd controllers you will actually start to see in the game when you start to play it. Obviously, we're going to see more epic crowd control heroes, but in this Alpha Wave 1 experience, he should have said, is just nuts. He's nuts. He is absolutely nuts. So Mordred, with just those 2 abilities alone, are fantastic. To put a little bit more icing on the cake, his passive has a 30% chance to reflect 100% damage when attacked by their allies, and also increases their divinity by 5% when enemies are attacked by their allies. Really good little effect. You can obviously put this on an imprint if you want, and his ultimate gives you a massive AoE, but if they are confused by his A2, you inflict 100% more damage. Oh yeah, baby. 500%. Instead of 250, we're doing 500. We're doing double. Easy clap. And then if the targets are under corrupt, you decrease their divinity by 10%, slowing their chances of getting that ultimate and increasing the duration of 1 turn on any confuse or corruption on all allies. So again, perfect kit here. You can corrupt them with your A1. You can put obviously the confuse on enemies with your A2. And when you do ultimate, you're going to be able to extend those debuffs that you put onto them by an extra turn potentially with some more damage. So yeah, absolutely great hero. I awakened them and honestly got a little bit of use out of them before the alpha finished and absolutely loved it. Green Knight is the same. Green Knight is a very good hero, and I wish I actually got this hero really early on because he's a fantastic brawler for a lot of players because he actually provides some okay damage to the team, which is quite scary when you start to experiment around him. But his kit is great, right? His A1 attacks an enemy 3 times with this nice bit of damage, but before attacking, he has a 75% chance to place a Drain 1 on that target, which is great because that gives him now the ability to sustain off their damage before he's even hit them, which is great. If he kills that target, by the way, he increases his own maximum HP by 10%, which is very relevant because then it's going to scale your A1 to do more damage, which is actually the little secret to this hero. When you go to his A2, this is where all of his utility comes in because you can actually steal all the buffs from an enemy, then have the 75% chance to place Taunt on that target, which cannot be blocked or removed, and you also place Retaliate on this hero. So what this does is you, no matter what, if they've got 10 buffs on them, you're stealing all 10 buffs, boys. Then you can place potentially a taunt, which forces them to attack you. It's just the way this little taunt ability works. Really good. Does 25% reduced damage, which is nice, but the big kick in the teeth is the fact that we retaliate. And retaliate allows you to attack the enemy back with your basic ability. And if you guys have not guessed it, yes, that does mean you have a chance on that retaliate, on that taunt, to place another Drain 1. So in one turn, you could be applying double Drain 1s onto targets by attacking one, maybe getting another turn potentially in a weird way, getting then the steal buffs and getting that retaliate. You can do a lot of really crazy stuff when you actually start to experiment with him, and stuff like joint attacks is a really good little spoiler on how you're able to abuse this. But then you got your ultimate. And guys, the ultimate, just when you thought he was obviously this really good tanky bruiser drainer, he attacks an enemy for a nice bit of damage, but you inflict 50% of the damage dealt to enemies under taunt, which is great. This attack always normals hit and ignores the target's defense. And when you hit enemies with this, you'll be crazy scared on how much damage this actually hits them for. So really good hero, and with his passive, just to kind of put icing on the cake, reflects 30% of the damage back to the enemy. And when you do go below 50% for the first time, when you awaken this hero, you're going to get a place 2 mend. That was a little bit of a mouthful there, but we got a place 2 mend on this hero. So you're going to be able to heal when you get a bit of damage put to you, basically. So yeah, really good hero on there. And to finish off the 3 that I was mentioning, obviously it's got to be Pandora. Pandora, I think, at the moment, didn't get as much attention and love as she got. And I hope in Alpha Wave 2, I'm able to try her out myself more than I actually was able to do, because you are able to do some really interesting things with this hero. She's got probably one of the most interesting kits out of all of them, and it's all this support utility-based skills, right? So her first basic attack attacks 2 random enemies, but you have a 30% chance to steal buffs from them. That means you can remove their reflex, your mends, any of their attack ups, sharpens, you name it. Any blue buff you can steal, which is very powerful in obviously certain bosses, certain waves, and certain just scenarios in the game. When you go to your A2 now, you attack again enemies at random 2 times, but each hit has a 40% chance to steal 50 divinity and 5% turn meter. This is where a lot of her power truly lies, because this is really good. The amount of times you're able to actually get this coming off, and it sounds crazy, but this 40% feels a lot higher, to steal basically almost 100 divinity from enemies, all enemies. It just says attack enemies. This hits all. It's crazy. 2 times. So yeah, you basically put them back 10%. You steal 100, but this is on each enemy, guys, right? You could almost be at the top of your ultimate here, which is again gaining 40 divinity when an enemy receives a debuff or disable, right? And this is where the things get kind of cool, because her ultimate attacks all enemies with a 75% chance to place a random disable for 1 turn. And this is what really brings her kitting together, because you're able, as you've guessed it, steal buffs, steal all of their stats, steal everything that matters on the march that you're going against, all of the different formations, all the different legendary hero imprints, whatever you're going against, right, that are giving these buffs to heroes and giving them their advantage. You're stripping it away. And then, to make matters worse, you apply one of these different buffs. And when I was trying this out, this ultimate was game changing. It was always game changing. There was never a time when it just felt like it never not landed. And that was what's really cool about Pandora, honestly. And I think when you start to use it in Alpha Wave 2, I think you guys are going to start to realize, wait a minute, this is kind of nasty that I can apply these debuffs, steal all these debuffs, and there's imprints which allow you to spread debuffs and weapons that do the same. So you can do some really crazy just workings with this, where you're able to lock down teams and steal all their buffs and just do absurd amount of damage back just with this one hero, right? So honestly, I really do think if you get Pandora, do not ignore this hero, right? So to finish it up, I'm going to talk about one last hero that I had a lot of fun with, and that was a lot of fun, is the Hound of Duat. The Hound of Duat. This defender is amazing. This is basically the Anubis pet, and the reason why we call it the Anubis pet is because he has skills tied to it. So out of all the heroes you've seen so far, this is the first hero that if Anubis or Jackal, so basically one of the lower rarity heroes, are in the team, not in the team, in the team, but in the team, they have a 50% chance to join the attack. This is super powerful, because if you do have Anubis and the dog, it just works, as you can imagine, a match made in heaven. In Alpha Wave 1, it didn't work with the joint attack. However, it still didn't matter. The amount of damage your little Hound does here is kind of crazy. And what makes him very powerful is actually going against Fafnir on stage 90 and even Fafnir on stage 150, unless they change this for Alpha Wave 2 and Alpha Wave 3, which was he stole Divinity. And by stealing Divinity, you never allowed Fafnir to ever ultimate, like, ever. He never ultimated once, so his damage increase never stacked, and you could just keep going and killing him even with a weak team, because you could actually out sustain his damage with really low healing, which was very good. With your A2 now, you have an ability to place a shield of 25% of the damage you've dealt. And what's really cool is if Anubis is on the team of a Jackal again, whenever they get attacked, you have a 25% chance to refresh the cooldown of this ability. And yes, this didn't work again in Alpha Wave 1, but you can kind of see where we're going with this. If it did, this would be even better than it already felt, because this shielding is over 400% of your defense, and it is a big old shield you're able to put on the dog. And the thing is, when you are building the dog, you do want to go for a tanky build. You do want defense, you do want HP, because the bread and butter of him is when you ultimate him as often as possible, because his ultimate places retaliate on his hero for 1 turn and protection 2 on all other allies. If Anubis is on the team, you also place intercept on them for 1 turn. This is a very powerful ability, because anytime one of your heroes are attacked by an enemy, this hero is going to go and attack them. So he's going to do that massive amount of damage and steal their divinity anytime one of your heroes gets attacked. Then if someone targets that good old Anubis, that's maybe your carry in the team, intercept makes it so they attack the dog instead. And obviously, it being a tank, you're going to take that much damage. And guess what? It will trigger the retaliate as well, so he deals some damage back. The Hound of Duat, honestly, really good hero, and his passive is really good too because it places a barrier on this hero for 10% of the damage inflicted, and you also heal this hero for 15% of the damage inflicted. So yeah, it's really good. The fact that you're placing your own barrier and healing of him. He's a fantastic tank. Even without Anubis, he will do wonders for any team when you play with him, right? So to finish this video up, I'm going to do some honorable mentions on this side of things, and then we'll do the imprint section for some epic heroes I really did enjoy playing with their epics. So honorable mentions is going to be the kind of, I would say, specialists in their role. So that's going to be Bastet for a good example, and our Achilles. So Achilles and Bastet, really good heroes, but the issue is obviously they are designed for one kind of specific playstyle, which is bleed. If you're going to be an Achilles player, and Achilles was really good at applying this bleed because you get 50% chance to place 3 stacks when you attack an enemy. And what's really good is when you awaken your Achilles, you actually place retaliate on this hero as well as an attack up 2 and a sharpen up 2. There's just a little bug at the moment, as you can see, which loses the text when you awaken this hero. So if there's a Fateless member watching this video, you can quickly fix this bug so it says everything that's obviously on here when you awaken this guy. Then the ultimate removes all the stacks of bleed that you've been applying. Obviously this goes up to 10 stacks maximum. That's just because you're only able to apply 10 different, I think, buffs or debuffs onto an enemy at one given time. From my knowledge, I could be wrong, someone may correct me in the comment section, but you're able to remove those bleeds and actually increase the damage that you deal up to a maximum of 50%. And that's what gets kind of crazy with Achilles, because if you put him in boss scenarios, his damage ramp is kind of disgusting, and the bleed doing, again, some really good damage to the target because this is going off 1% of their maximum HP. So if you get 3, 5, maybe obviously like say 10 stacks, that's 10% of their maximum HP each turn it starts on them. It's kind of disgusting, I'm gonna be honest, right? And it's, yeah, it's just kind of disgusting. I just that's all I've got to say. The stats very similar, but she's better in, I think, a lot of ways, just because you can use her without any Blaze team, which is quite interesting. Her A2 alone does an insane amount of damage. Oh, it's really good. You do apply a vulnerable state onto the targets. So if they've got debuffs like the bleed, like Blaze, like any sort of DP, like damage over time debuff effects, you're going to be doing more damage with it, which is actually pretty good on top of having an AoE. So this A2 alone is really powerful. It's really good. And obviously if you got a Ra team and a Blaze team, you do take a little bit more advantage of this. When you go to her A1, she does have a 3-hit attack, which does potentially give a Blaze, and if you have Blaze on that target, you increase the damage by 25%. But this isn't honestly something that matters. It is this A2 and maybe even an A3, which does again a massive amount of damage with the Blaze 2, which does combo the A1 on it naturally. But yeah, no, this A2 was nutty on Bastet. So there are going to be some honorable mentions there, and the final 2 is going to be what I did start to use on my last live streams, which you guys can check out, which Emotep and Brynhild. Brynhild has arguably become, I don't know if she's in my top 5. I think she's going to become my top 5 favorite just epic heroes from the alpha. And the reason why is if you get this defender awakened free, so you only need to get her awakened free, you get such a powerful tank in your team and support. You're not going to miss her, honestly. Like you're going to love her when she's in there. Because the passive gives you a buff where whenever you're under Radiance, you place a Blaze 2 on an enemy. So it sounds a bit weird, I know, but when you now read her ultimate, you place a Radiance 2 buff for 2 turns. So all of your team now has Radiance 2, and whenever, obviously, while ever you're under that buff, your Brynhild here, she's going to place that Blaze 2 on the enemy, right? So this was what was really nice, because These two on its own was a damage combo, which also provided a shield onto your team, which was perfect. She tanked, she actually dealt some really good DPS back out, and on top of things, her A2 gives you a defense up 1 and places an intercept on whoever's the lowest. So if you have your support and she's about to die and you don't want her to die, guess what? Your Brynhild will save her, which is, oh, I can't swear, but I want to say fucking fantastic. There we go, we dropped an F-bomb, right? So really good hero in every aspect. And then her A1 also puts an attack down 2 for 2 turns. Yes, it's a 50% chance, and if this hero is under the radiance, you increase the damage dealt, which is really good too. So I want to put as an honorable mention just because I didn't get as much time on her, but she really did quickly become an epic hero that I felt like if I had her earlier on in my adventure, she probably would have stayed in my team for a super long time. Honestly, a super long time. She does provide something that no real good super tank is actually really doing in this Alpha Wave 1, which is intercept, shield, and obviously provide some actually decent damage back, which you'll notice is kind of the common theme here, why I like the Hound of Duat too, right? Because he does all of those things. So those are kind of the epic heroes that I'm going to talk about. Let me know your thoughts down below, what epic heroes you really enjoyed so far, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on stuff maybe like Emotep or Percival, if you use them. I'd love to hear your experience with them heroes. But what we're going to do is just kind of finish the video off with the imprints, because yes, we was able to get a shit ton of imprints, and we will talk about some of them, and some of them were really cool, some of them not so cool, right? So Achilles is just good. If you just have a bleed team, you would most likely just put this on certain weapons. It's just a good damage steroid to have than having this other one, which is all the way down here, which is this extra stack, because this is just technically lower in every regard. Yes, you're going to take more damage, but don't worry, with the right compositions, you're not going to be taking too much with shields, barriers, and just healing, and just keeping that, you know, even the attack down on the enemy. Really important stuff that you can be doing, so really good. Brynhild is good again, because this is good for certain teams, even in certain areas, like if you're running like a Horus maybe, you could actually take advantage of this Radiance buff if you put it with them, because in Blaze combos, you can actually do some really cool tank lineups with this, so I would recommend just check it out. It's nothing too, obviously, easy to make, but it is a very cool one that you can do. Bastet just does a 15% chance to instantly remove any debuff. It's just a jack of all trades. If you get this and you want someone just to make sure they hopefully remove debuffs more often, you can do that. But the ones that I really enjoyed is Gilgamesh, as you can imagine, being able to put anyone having a 50% chance to increase their divinity meter to give them ultimate was fantastic. Mordred was actually really good too. Enemies have 30% chance to reflect 100% damage when attacked by their allies. This was actually very scary, because if you did run confused combos with like Odin and you didn't actually have the Mordred in your team and you relied more on Odin and maybe like Pandora and Loki and then an actual like support, and let the confused do the work and you kind of clean up with chip damage, this was pinnacle for those type of combos, because anytime you had this on the heroes that are doing the confusion onto the enemies, bro, the 30% doing that 100% damage, and you see sometimes the enemy AI one shot each other, was crazy. It was crazy. So really probably underlooked one I think not many creators will talk about, but I will say to you guys, keep an eye out for this, because this could be the problem child, right? And placing ward on the lowest HP ally for 1 round at the start of each round isn't too bad. You can put this on any support. Really good one for the support heroes, for just looking for a imprint to put on a weapon. Musashi again places ward on this hero for 1 turn after they place taunt on an enemy. So this is only going to be good for use case scenarios. So again, if you've got heroes that are able to place taunt on an enemy, you're going to gain ward for that obviously value. But the ones that were really crazy is the fact that this Pandora has a 25% chance to transfer 1 debuff on heroes when attacking enemies. This is the one that we were kind of hinting on earlier on in the video. This imprint is kind of disgusting. It really is, because it allows you in certain scenarios with certain combinations that you can have so much fun with. I don't want to spoil it with you guys, but you're able, for example, to despair maybe 2 targets and then hit those targets, because you might want to kill them still, and spread that despair to other enemies. And even if you get 1 of them, it's so much value, it is kind of bonkers. And putting this on heroes that have debuffs, that are multi-hitters, even like a Bastet, is kind of nasty, because if you're attacking someone with a blaze and you go bang, 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 well, that's 25% chance, 25% chance, and 25% chance, which does allow you to potentially do some disgusting blaze spreading, acid spreading, bleed spreading. So really take note again of this one. There's 2 I've really gone a little bit more in depth with compared to the others for this reason, because they're really clever and it gives you honestly a load of creativity in Godforge. And I hope we don't nerf them, because I think this creativity is going to separate the really clever and fun build compared to the ones that just work because they work, right? Because they work ABC, simple as, right? Set is one hero I didn't mention, and I will tell you guys, if you get a Set, he is almost the king of countering ISIS. That's how I felt. He's able to steal any buffs, basically, and his ultimate does give you a despair on the enemy with, I think it's a 50 or 75% chance of applying it. Really good hero. Honestly, I really enjoyed him. I had to consume him, unfortunately, to make some 6-star heroes and 5 stars, but it is what it is. His imprint, again, I honestly wasn't impressed about this, though. This was the one imprint I didn't really, I want to say, enjoy the look of. Maybe you guys will see a really clever way of taking advantage of this, maybe with like forcing debuffs onto one of your own guys that get you know, tankier or something. I don't know, but yeah, I wasn't super impressed with this one, but that is kind of, you know, the epic ones that we was able to have. The final one that we do need to talk about is Leo's. Oh boy, even if you don't get Leo and you get his imprint, I would say to do not ignore this one. You have a 30% chance to convert 50% of incoming damage from attacks into barrier. The barrier can't exceed more than 10% of your hero's health, but that is perfectly fine, because this is what you want on tanks. So if you get a HP based tank in the game, so this is a guy that scales all off HP and maybe some defense or resistance, put Leo on him and do not complain that you're getting a free 10,000 shield because you've got like 100k HP. You're gonna be taking it every time, because you honestly just keep converting this damage and it gives you such great tanking capabilities. It is disgusting, especially when you're able to do stuff like a barrier and then allow the barrier to take the damage to allow the Leonidas passive here to stack up the shield. Yeah, it is great. Do not sleep on this one again. Really good, epic actual imprint in the game. So that's going to be today's video covered. We've gone through here all of the epic heroes that I honestly wanted to talk about and give you guys some loving and, you know, some showcase on them, on what you should maybe look out for on Alpha Wave 2. So let me know your thoughts down below. What was your thoughts with some of the epic heroes in games? Which was the ones that really did impress you and leave that impression on the mark? Or what was the ones that just kind of, you know, felt a little bit lackluster? So until the next video, smash like, comment, and subscribe. Till then, stay safe, stay sneaky, guys. Peace out.